Life is about context. Not like I'm saying with the verses, like who's speaking, etc. This is another level of context I want to talk about. Life is about context. Let me give you an example. How many of you ever wondered, this came up in a conversation the other night, how many of you ever wondered why Yeshua, I mean, after all, he's the Messiah, he was slain before the foundation of the earth, he offered himself freely, would sit there in the garden and prayerfully say, Father, if it's possible to take this cup away from me, can that be done? Was he afraid? No. Was he panicking? No. What was different then than at the foundation, before the foundation of the earth? What was different? The context of him now being in flesh and knowing what that feels like. He had a concept of it before the foundation of the earth. He agreed to do what would be done before the foundation of the earth. But what did he say, though, in the context of it? He said, nevertheless, I submit fully to you, Father, whatever you say. And do you notice that once that conversation ended, he just got up and did what he had to do? There was never another word about it. He didn't whine, didn't complain, didn't gripe, didn't have an attitude problem. Did you notice that? But there was a context change. He had a concept of human life until that time. Now he understood in a full context what it felt like to be us. It says he's been tempted in all things as we are. He knows what it feels like inside, in our hearts, in our emotions, in our minds, in our physical bodies, to feel pain, etc. None of those things did he have any understanding of before the foundation of the earth. Just like in 1 John, we have the opposite of it. We have a hard time contextually understanding what it's like to be them. Well, I want to transform into the image of the Son, and I want to transform. Well, you don't understand what even that looks like. You have concepts about it, but you don't have any context yet, which is why John in 1 John says, I don't know what we will be like, except that I know that when we see him, when he comes in and we're changed into that, then we'll have context. And we'll see him and understand him as he is. Is this making sense? Okay? And so you say, oh, I want to be a disciple. Oh, I want to live in that first century model. You have no context to know what that feels like and is because you live now. You don't have anybody doing that around now. You can't see what that looks like. You can't even get the concept and visual because you can't even watch it being done now anywhere. I have so many people that have come to me and said, will you be my covering or can I disciple with you? And I promise you, almost none of them probably truly understand because they don't have the context yet what they're asking for. They just don't. I had a gentleman one time that when we were talking about something and there was something that he didn't want to do, and he said to me, he said, Rabbi, please don't make me do it. And I said, I won't. I said, but don't tell everybody you're discipling with me either. Because if you're discipling, if I say do it, you do it. So I'm not going to. Because that's a disciple level thing. I will never interfere or insert myself in your life unless you invite me in a relationship that is correct for that, my inserting myself. Do you understand what I'm saying? In a disciple level relationship, you've given me that permission to speak freely, out of love, and out of truth, unfettered, straight. But if you don't want that, don't say, well, I want to be your disciple. Because that's what we all think. That's what the ultimate thing. I want a disciple. But are you ready to trust anybody that much? Are you ready to trust a physical person? Because discipleship is done by people. By the way, Yeshua trained 12. If you want to look at the 70 or 120, but let's look at the 12. And he sent them out to do what? To make disciples throughout the nations. And so they were trained having the context and the experience of what that looks like to do it with others. But we want to, I want to be a disciple. First of all, we don't have the physical structure to handle that because you'd have to really be where I am if I'm doing it, or whoever your teacher is, you'd have to live where they are to be able to do this on a like Yeshua did. He kind of almost lived with them, right? Went around and spent all that time with them. And discipling is a very intimate and intense relationship. as close to husband and wife as people can be that are not married. Or like as close as father and son or father and daughter, who are not actually physically father and son, father and daughter, okay? Or whatever that is. Women can be discipling other ladies too. It says that the older women are supposed to be training up the younger ones. So it's as much as a mother with a daughter. But can you trust? Well, I don't know. My mother and I had a terrible relationship. My father and I had a terrible. See, you don't have context for it. You don't have the framework to understand what you're asking for because your experiences have been completely the opposite and terrible. But this has to do with context. You have to start to now have the context of understanding what a covenanted person in a relationship with our Messiah and our Creator should look like and behave like. We've got information, we've got concepts, and you have to start applying them to get more context. And you're not going to really know where you are until it goes bad. When I mean bad, meaning the way you will feel when you don't like what's happening or you disagree and you're being put in a place to have to make a choice that you don't want to. Because then you're going to choose, am I going to trust or am I going to run? Or am I going to badmouth that? Well, you have no idea what that guy just said to me, blah, 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 treated me like this. When I kissed his man, uh-oh. That's a good timing on that, uh-oh. Because I'll have a few of those conversations and I'll leave those conversations going, uh-oh, we're going to find out now where we're at. All right, we're going to find out now.